What's going on, everyone? Today we have the patch notes for patch 17.4. This one's focused on enabling as many comps as possible, so let's see how they do on that. We'll be the judge of that. We're gonna go through all the changes here. We have a nice little summary graphic. We have buffs to Aatrox, Twisted Fate, Gnar, Bel'Veth, Gwen, Misfortune, Ornn, Zoe, Aurora, Victor, Morgana, Nami, Xayah, and Shen, and Graves. Buffs to Challenger, Nova, Sniper, Space Groove, and Stargazer, and also 12 augments along with 8 different items. The ones in the image here are going to be Yasuo's Blade Work, Lighting Jewel, and Echo's Timepiece. Alright, next up we have nerfs to Lulu, Ross, Corki, Fiora, Zed, and Darkstar. 9 augments, 3 items including Rogue Emblem, Radiant Nashor's, Radiant Gargoyle, and then also Echo's Boon. You know, I love Echo's Boon, but I don't think it's actually that strong. I think it's just good because it's flexible, but as like a pure like stat buff or whatever, I mean, it is good, don't get me wrong, but I didn't know it needed to be nerfed. Next up, we have our adjustments to Jax, Meeple, Mace as well, and Sunfire board, and then also reworking Arbiter and Psionic. In this video, we're going to cover all these changes and also try to guess how they're going to be affecting the meta. We have a nice little rotating shop here with Annie skin, Thresh skin, and some boards. And then let's start off with the system changes. We got the God boons, Echo's boon, Specialist star damage is going to be changed from 85 to 70. I did not know the Specialist one was the one that's OP. So this one was deemed too strong. Honestly, I think the reason why they need to change this is because it's working a bit too well on specific units. They mentioned Gnar and Caitlyn specifically. But again, I think the main strength of this boon is that it's very, very flexible. And if you don't know whose items go on who, it's going to be great so that you could use all your item removers to get best in slots once you get the units you actually want rather than the board you currently have. And then you always have one item that kind of fits on everyone no matter what the situation is. That's what I like about this item. Next, we have Chest of Greed being disabled due to a bug, and then we have the large changes. Wow, there are a lot of them. So we're going to start off with the Challenger attack speed changes. They're going to be buffing them at 3 and 4 Challenger. Darkstar bonus at 6 is going to be dropped from 85 to 70. Yeah, 6 Darkstar, way too strong. It's also just way too spiky because you get the 2 dark holes. Before it was 30% of Darkstar HP, now it's going to be 25%. Obviously still going to be very spiky, but not as strong. Nova bonuses, Aatrox damage, 50% of spell damage is going to be changed to 65. I think they're trying to get you to use the Nova Strike on specific units more instead of just using it on the one that you have the emblem on. Akali bonus bleed per shuriken going to be changed a bit, buffed up, same with the bleed damage, and then Kindred also going to be buffed up damage amp, but Mark Timer is going to be dropped a little bit too. Next up we have is Meeple Emblem bonus. 1 mana regen per Meep is going to be changed to 50 health and 4% damage amp per Meep. I think that's going to be a buff. Definitely more flexible on a lot of different units. It works on pretty much anyone, right? The mana one, going to be good on people who cast, but if you don't use mana, then it's pretty useless, right? Psionic Drone Uplink, damage amp is going to be 15%. Malware Matrix at 2 Psionic is going to be changed to 10% damage amp, 15 attack speed, 10 Omnivamp. And then for Psionic, they're changing pretty much all of the items here. Let's read the summary for this one. They're becoming far more general in their stats so that you can play more lines with them. The idea here is that they will have their best users, but they can be used on more than just one and adapt for that champion's role. One callout here is that target lock optics, which is being completely reworked to be good on any AP or AD champion, as long as they switch targets. Imagine how fast this baby ramps with fish bones. As an added note, the Biomatter Preserver, the tank item, remains unchanged since it was already a more generalized tank option. So they're pretty much making everything into something that's more flexible. Like Malware Matrix used to only reduce armor, now it also reduces MR. Synthetic Implant, this one gives attack speed and damage amp instead of, I think it gave a lot of mana regen and AP before. Target lock optics going to give both stats now, and they're going to be doing the same thing with all the Radiant versions of those items. So that's pretty nice. It used to suck when you were trying to go some Psionic comp and then you see the item and you're like, nope, can't go for it because I'm just going to be down an item. That didn't feel great, right? But Sniper baseline damage amp is going to be buffed up at later snipers. Space Groove 7, going to get a 5% bonus. I love Space Groove. I don't know if this is enough to make Space Groove meta. I'm hoping it is, but we have to see what the changes are to the specific units before deciding on that. Stargazer, Fountain Stargazer going to have a bit more healing, bit more AD, and then Huntress going to be nerfed a bit. for the team-wide attack speed, but Stargazer attack speed is going to be buffed up a bit. Huntress Mark number going to be increased at, I think that's 7 Stargazer. And then the Serpent's going to be dropped at 3. Mountain attack speed going to be dropped a tad, and then durability dropped a tad as well. Next up we have is Arbiter. This is going to be a big change there because they currently have some viable outputs, but the trait's far too conditional, often resulting in situations where you check your Arbiter options to see if you hit one of the OP ones, and then you pivot out to something else. Yep, but they want to change that. Their goal is to take a huge pass on the trait to guarantee you see a wider range of options each game while removing any dead inputs and outputs. Okay, let's see how they do. So Arbiter inputs are now grouped into 3 categories. 1 input from each category will always be offered. So the consistent ones are every 4 seconds and for each Arbiter star level. Conditional is when you attack 3 times or when you spend 50 mana, and then the econ is for every interest you would gain and if you rerolled last turn. Now the outputs are going to be what you gain. You can get attack speed or ability power, and then defense. You could get permanent max HP, a % shield, or armor and magic resistance. And then lastly, you can get offered economy, which is chance to gain gold or chance to gain a Leona. And when gaining gold or Leona, if a player's chance exceeds 100%, they will use any excess chance for a second roll at that reward with a maximum of 2 triggers. Okay, that's pretty fair. They also have some new combinations: attack 3 times and gain 12 or 18 resistances. Same with gold chance and same with the Leona chances. And then they adjusted some combinations. The gaining AP for attack is getting buffed, attack speed getting buffed as well. The every 4 seconds one, attack speed's getting buffed. And then the interest, this one's being changed a bit. It's going to be bumped up, and then shield duration also being bumped up from 4 to 8 seconds. And then they're going to be nerfing ability power for rerolling last combat, buffing attack speed, Leona chance, gold chance, and shield duration. And then for each Arbiter star level, they're going to be buffing gain attack speed and shield duration. And then they're removing some inputs. First time an Arbiter drops below 40 health, when an enemy dies, and when an Arbiter deals 10 instances of damage. Yeah, I like these changes a lot. They kept like more of the general ones up here for the inputs, which is pretty much just this. And they got rid of a lot of the weird ones that were maybe a little less intuitive and probably harder to balance because they have to balance all of them instead of just fewer things. So overall, I kind of like these changes. I feel like long term, it's going to be good. Next up, we have our units tier 1. Aatrox heal is going to be bumped up a little bit. Twisted Fate going to get buffs. Maybe Twisted Fate reroll might be back. They didn't buff him too hard. I mentioned this in the previous patch. A lot of the reason why Twisted Fate got worse in the last patch was because a lot of other 1-cost reroll got nerfed, and because a lot of other 1-cost reroll got nerfed, less people play them, which makes it harder to play other 1-cost rerolls such as Twisted Fate. So they pretty much reverted that plus the Belveth nerf, so maybe all the 1-cost rerolls are going to be back. Let's see what they did down here. So Belveth spell damage AD is going to be bumped up a tiny bit, and then Gnar's base damage jumped up a bit too. You know, I really don't play Gnar that much. I hope he actually does see some action. Gwen resistance is bumped up a bit. Gwen is fantastic in the early game, but I don't really build comps around Gwen. Hopefully with the space group buff, maybe there's a Gwen reroll comp out there waiting for us. Jack's flat damage reduction is going to be bumped up a bit, and then Zoe spell damage going to be jumped up too. I'm really hoping there's some Arbiter reroll comp, maybe like Zoe Diana as some sort of combo. Maybe even drop in a Leona there, and then you run it with Vanguards or something like that, because Zoe is a conduit, so is Mordekaiser. So you do like Leona, Mordekaiser, Zoe, and Diana, and then you just fill the rest of your team with other stuff. That would be kind of cool to try out, you know? But next up, we have our units tier 3. We have Aurora. AP is going to be bumped up a little bit. She's great, obviously, because she is a anima unit, but again, not too many comps are built around her. A lot of the time she's built as a 3-star is when she's complementing someone else. So maybe she's going to get some of her own comps that she could be played with, where she's a main carry. That could be kind of interesting. Lulu mountain spell stun duration getting nerfed again. Wow, they really hate the mountain. I mean, I guess it does make sense. AoE stuns on a 3-cost unit that's casting so much. Yeah, probably going to be a little broken, right? Misfortune Replicator spell damage. This one's going to be bumped up a tad. And then Ornn base health going to be jumped up. Ross Redeemer attack speed. This one's going to be nerfed. Bonus resist going to be nerfed as well. So they're just not scaling anymore. I actually do not like this change. I thought the whole point was that the 3-star actually rewards you, because Ross himself is not a good unit. You just 3-star him because you get the nice little Redeemer bonus. Obviously, it's better to have a 3-star than a 1-star, don't get me wrong, but maybe if they buffed up his like actual stats, that would make a bit more sense if you are nerfing his scaling on his trait. Next up, we have his Victor. He's going to get a small slight bump up. Yeah, no one's really playing Victor since like 2 patches now. So hopefully this gives them a little bit back in action. I think with the psionic item changes though, he's not going to be as strong though, so he might even need a bit more than this because he wasn't really that good in the previous patch either. Next up we have his 4 cost, Corky missile damage. This one's going to be nerfed a tiny bit. Meeple rocket damage also going to be nerfed. Morgana going to be a 1 ranger instead of 2 because she is a tank after all. HP scaling going to be jumped up a bit. Nami's mana is going to be buffed by 5 mana for the total mana, so that's 2 buffs in a row now for Nami, plus the space group buffs. Probably going to see some action in this next patch. Xayah base AD going to be jumped up a tad, and then spell damage is going to be bumped up a bit too, just for the main target. Obviously, she does do AoE, so this is just one portion of her ability. So I do want to make sure I point that out as well. It's not like a humongous buff. It is a buff, don't get me wrong, but there are multiple portions of her ability out there. Next up we have is units tier 5. We have Fiora spell true damage, going to be nerfed a bit. Graves base AS going to be buffed. Laser ballistics fallout per target going to be changed from 40 to 60%. Shen's mana going to be buffed up a little bit for his first cast. Spell damage going to be buffed up. Honestly, they might need to do a bit more with Shen. With Shen and Blitzcrank, I find that when I 2-star them, like, yeah, it's great. I'm not going to complain about it, but they don't, like, take over the game like some of the other legendaries. Like, compare them to Fiora, for example. Fiora absolutely smashed everything. A 2-star Shen with 3 items, I don't think so, you know? Like, obviously it does something, but not to the extent of getting a Fiora. Zed's clone health is going to be increased from 40% to 45% at 2-star, and the mana is going to be nerfed a bit for the first cast. Zed is pretty OP, I'm not going to lie. Like, a lot of people can just see the augment and then go right into it. So he does need some nerfing. Is this enough? It might be. But let's go on into the augments. We have Shield Maiden Leona. This one is going to be changed from 10 out of 40 to 20 out of 50, so that's going to hurt her a ton, but it was one of the best hero augments in the game. Self-Destruct Gragas. This is one of my favorites, but it's going to be getting a small nerf. Reach for the Stars Jax. This one's going to be nerfed as well. And then 1, 2, 3. Number of 1 cost is going to be changed from 1 to 2. Booster pack total value 12 gold instead of 10. Charge transfer 1 and 2 gonna both be seeing buffs out there. This one's just hard to use because this is the one where if you have overkill damage, it like goes to the next person. And the issue with these augments is that it's better on units that already have an overkill effect pre-existing in their kit. So if you have like a Luden's Echo already, or if you have like Twisted Fate, it's better on those champions than it is on someone who doesn't have any. There were some issues that arose with this in previous patches. For example, they removed Luden's Echo from one of the previous sets because I think it was Ari had overkill effect, and then combining it with Luden's just made it way too OP. So I wonder if the same thing's going on here where this is just a bit situational, because honestly, a lot of the carries in the set, they are not high single target damage. They're mainly like AoE users or like attack speed users. Like if I'm thinking of carries, I'm thinking of like LeBlanc, Vex, they're attack speed based. They're not going to use this that well. Master Yi attacks a lot. Xayah's AoE, things like that. So it's kind of hard to use this unless you are playing those units that are just super high single target. And one of them, such as Twisted Fate, already has this effect built into his kit. Climb the Ladder stats, going to be bumped up a bit for both 1 and 2. Exalted Adventure rewards are being increased by 15%. Wow, that is a lot. I wonder if the deflation that they introduced in the game this set kind of hurt Exalted Adventure, because it is hard to 3-star a bunch of 2-cost units. Hard Commit gold per stage 4 to 3. Heroic Grab Bag gold increased by 1. Heart of Steel health per growth 12 to 16. Heart of the Swarm now also grants 2 Dining Duplicators. Apex Primordian attack speed going to be bumped up a bit. Apex Primordian mana going to be bumped up as well. Hold the Line bonus AD is going to be dropped by 1. Same with the AP. That's the one where if you have units in the front and back line, this is good. Group Hug resistance is going to be dropped by 1. Kahuna Huna, this one's going to be nerfed as well. Luxury subscription gold per trigger is going to be changed from 5 to 7, and then Mace's will no longer be offered on stage 2-1. Makes a lot of sense there. Crit feels like it's something that's more useful later on in the game, but I do kind of like it on stage 2 because if you want to build a jeweled gauntlet, you can just get it right away and just have the bonus crit. That's kind of nice to do. But I guess if you don't have a sword for IE or a rod for jeweled gauntlet, then it's not that great. Sweet Treats health per item going to be dropped from 20 to 16. Sunfire board no longer offered on 2-1. Yeah, this one makes a lot of sense too, because normally Sunfire board is something you take where you already built your items, but you need anti-heal. You just take it to take it, save you an item later. But in the beginning of the game, that's a bit early to kind of decide on that. Honestly, a lot of combat augments I'm not a huge fan of on stage 2, especially if they're also offered in the other stages. Obviously, the ones specifically tailored for stage 2 I think are fine, but a lot of the general ones, it always feels bad to kind of get them. Like makeshift armor on stage 2, are you really happy that you got it there? Like, I don't think so, right? But it looks like that one's staying. But compare like makeshift armor with good for something. Both of them kind of fill similar requirements of not putting items on people. But if you're not putting items on people, you're probably lose streaking, right? So good for something just makes a bit more sense. Obviously, like maybe you have a lot of upgrades and then you don't like any of their item slams. I could see like a small argument for makeshift armor on stage 2, but I think psychologically it doesn't feel that great. But let's move on into the radiant items. I'm sorry, Lulu, but Radiant Gnasher's Tooth cannot turn you into a 6 cost. Yeah, it really did do that. We could do an easy check there. I'm gonna head on over to teamfight.lol, type in Lulu, go to items and check out the radiance. So if you have to guess, what average placement are we gonna see there if we do 3-star Lulu 3 item with the radiant? It's gonna be 2.81. That's pretty good, right? 2.81's pretty good. Compared to the other radiants, they're all a bit higher. Yeah, I'll take a 2.81. Thank you very much. Is it even good enough with like 2-star Lulu? That'd be interesting too. Nope, 6.16. Okay, so you do need the 3-star still, but interesting thought experiment, I guess. But Radiant Adaptive Helm for non-tanks, AD and AP is going to change from 25 to 40, mana regen 6 to 7, Dragon Claw percent max health 22 to 28%, Gargoyle Stoneplate, resist per enemy 25 to 20, that one's going to be nerfed. It's probably a bit too strong on the mech, just because the mech counts as 2 units. Radiant Gwinsu's Rage Blade attack speed per second going to be changed from 14 to 16, Radiant Gnasher Tooth, on crit mana on attack 8 to 6, Artifacts, Blighting Jewel MR reduction going to be buffed up from 4 to 6. Echo's Patience damage amp is going to be changed from 40 to 45. Luden's Echo is going to be changed from 55 to 60. And then Yasuo's Blade Work attack speed 10 to 20%. They're also changing some emblems. Arbiter Emblem is going to have its attack speed being buffed up by 10%. And then Rogue Emblem Omnivamp 40 to 25. Wait, it gave 40 Omnivamp before? Was it really 40? Like, holy cow, did I miss a memo or something like that? I knew it was good, I just didn't read it, you know? But let me check out Rogue Emblem, and yeah, apparently it was 40%. Okay, it was at 50% health gain, 40 Omnivamp. I was like, no way it was like that the whole time. Okay, it's conditional, but obviously still decent, especially with the aggro drop. When you reach a certain health threshold, you get to heal back up. Pretty good effect there. But let's go on into the bug fixes. We have He's Just Sleeping, fix a bug where Nunu and Willem could rarely revive himself during combat. Fix a tooltip where Morgana was listed as a 5 cost in Pengu's Blessing. Fix some instances where Master Yi's dash would target the incorrect enemies. Dude, I swear Master Yi just like auto targets backline whenever I'm facing him. Is it related to this? I think it is, right? Timebreaker's tooltip in Talker's Trial corrected. Darkstar 6 mini black holes no longer benefit from exiles and too tanky. Luden's Echo tooltip corrected. Loot Singularity properly disabled in Talker's Trial. Soraka's Miracle functions properly when a champion is equipped with more than one. And now also the champion heal will now wait until the current heal ends before triggering again. Fix a bug where Samira's passive could trigger more than intended against targets immune to crowd control. Fix some instances where double up cannon would disappear after Realm of the God rounds. And then level up and upward mobility are now mutually exclusive with wise spending, and it's hard to count while concussed. Fix a bug where Boxing Lessons HP would update incorrectly, and then Steamroll Plus properly grants 1 gold per win now. I wonder what it was kind of given before. So Space Groove, I want to talk about Space Groove. I hope it's going to be a thing, because it really wasn't in the previous patch. It wasn't for a while now. If we check it out now, we go to traits and then look up, I don't know, so let's type in space. Like 7 Space Groove, it is playable, but it's kind of hard to get there, and no one's really actually playing it, right? So they're probably only doing it with some insane emblems or whatever. But pretty much no one's going above 1 Space Groove from what I'm looking at over here. But Gwen got buffed, Nami got buffed. There's got to be some sort of Nami carry, right? So you could use Gwen as an item holder for Nami, and then slowly use her as a main carry. It's got to be something that's viable, right? I am a bit also scared of the 1 cost reroll coming back. We got both the Twisted Fate and Belveth buffs. Belveth I know is a 2 cost, but she plays a lot with Briar and Rek'Sai, so if you go for Belveth, you got to go for Briar and Rek'Sai also. But for the 4 cost, like, makes a lot of sense to nerf a lot of the meeples. Corki was just by far the best comp. It's still going to be good. It doesn't look like they killed it. Normally when they nerf something that's that strong, they normally nerf it in like 50 different ways, but they actually held off this time. I'm actually kind of proud of Riot Games for doing that, so everyone give them a round of applause there. It should still be playable. but maybe we're going to be seeing some Xayah a bit more as well. And obviously, like, Nami, I'm hoping as one of the big ones. Master Yi, I think, is still going to be fine. It depends how the targeting thing actually worked, because yeah, he did bug out and kind of scam a lot of games. But who are the other 4 costs out there? Let's go to champions, type in 4 costs. Kindred's kind of tied to Master Yi. The mechs are decent. Darkstar got nerfed a bit, but Karma was pretty good already. Riven belongs in a bunch of different comps. So yeah, all the carries kind of have some space they can kind of be in. LeBlanc did get changed a lot with the Arbiter changes, but they buffed up the attack speed and AP ones on every 3 attacks, so she should be a bit better there. Honestly, I'm kind of excited for this 4 cost distribution. Like, hopefully 4 costs are going to be good. Hopefully level 8's going to be good, because a lot of them seem interesting to play now, and I think they actually buffed and nerfed the right stuff. Oh, for Master Yi, it also is going to depend on how good the new psionic items are. I assume he's going to drop an average placement, because right now his average placement is very high, don't get me wrong. You probably only went for him if you had the good attack damage items from the psionic bonus, or at least the tank item. If you got the AP ones, you never went him, unless you got some absolutely ridiculous start for him. So Master Yi should be toned down a bit just from those psionic changes, because there is some like selection bias in this data, right? Like, you'd only go Master Yi if you get the good psionic items, and now that they are all kind of equalized, it shouldn't be as good, you know? We'll be coming out with the tier list on Friday, as per usual, bunnymuffins.lol/meta for that. But overall, this patch, I'd honestly give them like a pretty solid grade. Hopefully I'm right. If I am wrong, I am sorry. I apologize in advance. But that's gonna be it for me today. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.